Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all again for coming to the 2025 State of Education series presented by our Vincennes PBS. We also want to thank our program sponsor today, which is First Vincennes Savings Bank, as well as our gold sponsors, North Knox School Corporation, Vincennes Community School Corporation, Vincennes University Foundation, and the South Knox School Corporation. With us today, we have three individuals from our different public school corporations. We have Dr. Darrell Bobe with North Knox, Greg Parsley with Vincennes Community School Corporation, and David Kokenauer, principal of South Knox Middle High School. Their superintendent, Jeff Cochran, is out sick with the flu, just like everybody else has probably suffered already to this point. So Dave is kind enough to step in to give us some information about South Knox. But I just want to say again, thank you all for joining us. Today we're going to hear some great things that are happening in all of our school corporations and some other things that we need to talk about. But before we get started, can you all do me a favor and just let's take a moment of silence in honor of the Ms. Smith from South Knox, as well as our partnering schools in the North Davies community with the passing of their student. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Who is the first to go today? Are we going to make the new guy go first? Yep. All right. Sorry. Yeah. They told me to do it.
Where am I going?
You can stay right there. Have a seat. You don't have to come up here if you don't want to.
I don't know how this works. So my name is David Kokenauer. I'm principal of South Knox Middle High School. Standing in for Mr. Cochran today, who, like Jamie said, is struggling a little bit. Be honest with you, not really a whole lot going on at South Knox, you know. For those of you, pretty exciting time. One of the things that we like to say out there is it's always a great day. Every day is a great day at SK. We don't have bad days. Good people, good community, a lot of support, and we're very appreciative of that. But this week there just seems to be a little bit more added to it. Not only are our girls going to the first state basketball championship in history, yep, give it up. Now, Mr. Toothman is my assistant principal, and he would remind me that this is not the first state opportunity. He took a cross-country team in 2013 to state. Yep, okay, so Andrew was on that, right? Yep. But this is the first basketball opportunity that we've had. It's been a pretty exciting time. Good group of girls in and out of on and off of the basketball court. Wonderful young ladies, hold themselves in the highest esteem. GPA is probably right around 3.8. Just an overall good group of kids, and a lot of fun to watch on the court. But in addition to that, we also have our school musical this week. So we have an opportunity this week at South Knox to showcase talent from all different spectrums of what it is that we do out there. And it's one of those things that we feel like that we need to embrace and just get excited about. A lot of kids, the game is played at 12:45. Hopefully by 3:30. I think I'd be honest with you. I think the IHSA kicks you out of the place by 3:30. Hopefully by 3:30 we can get some people on the road. We get our cast and crew back. If the kids come and they're wearing their South Knox gear, we're going to let them in for minimal price. Probably knock a lot off, so we're hoping to get a good crowd for that. Miss Neal's son will actually be on the court at Gamebridge Fieldhouse taking pictures during the game for us as kind of our media person, and then he's also in the cast later on that night of Into the Woods. So if anybody wants to come out to that, they can't make it to state, come out and support the musical that we got. If you can make it to state, do both and come on back and do that. Just real quick with that, I know I'm kind of hitting that specifically today, but real quick with that, with the musical, we're bringing the 5th and 6th graders down the hill tomorrow to watch it. We're going to do a segment of the musical for them. And then on Friday, we're going to have a pep session for the girls basketball team and also the musical, and also 2 individuals that went to our ISMA, which is a band and choir competition at the state. So we're going to recognize those 2 individuals that have performed there and done well. So we're going to do a pep session. We're going to open that up to our elementary and also the community if they want to come out. And then we're going to send the girls on the way. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a celebration at 12:30 in the afternoon. Win or lose, hopefully win. But we're going to do a celebration regardless at South Knox for the girls' basketball program. In terms of other things, I don't know what you guys talk about up here. Okay. Okay. It said 10 to 15. Daryl, where am I at? About 3? All right. So, I mean, it's been good. Second semester's gone off great. Everybody's struggled a little bit with the snow and some 2-hour delays and missing schools and things like that. But the kids all have done well with it. Faculty and staff done well with it. You know, it's been a pleasure for me. I've been there 15 years. It's been a pleasure for me to be at South Knox. I spent my first 12 years in Knox County in the Vincennes Community School Corporation as a teacher and assistant principal, and then we came out to South Knox in 10 and 11, and I've been there for 15 years. So I've been blessed at both places, and I just am appreciative of Knox County as a whole and what they've offered me and my children. Just all different types of opportunities. The mayor is here. My daughter interned or whatever you want to call it for the mayor for a year when she was a senior, and that was a fantastic opportunity for her. Savannah is here somewhere, and my other daughter worked for Savannah as a senior her last year. And so those were also good opportunities available. And now my son is actually back in Knox County, and he teaches for Dr. Bobe at North Knox. So we encourage our students to take advantage of those things that are available here in Knox County for them. And, you know, a lot of kids always want to get away, but the reality is that this is a good place to come back to educationally and then also just socially and with what it is that is offered. And I know that the chamber and different people are responsible for that. So I'm appreciative of that, and that's more about David Kokenaer than it is about South Knox, but I do appreciate the opportunity. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd say about 60% of my seniors leave at lunch, whether it's that they take part in an internship program that we do in-house, but then they'll send on out, or a work-based learning program through Twin Rivers, or Twin Rivers actually in the different places, be it automotive or construction or anything like that. Vincennes, we send about 5-6 kids to come here to take classes, which is good. Dual credit at South Knox. You can graduate from South Knox with up to 39 hours in dual credit. A lot of times we send kids to school as sophomores. We get complimented a lot on that because they'll come back and thank us for the opportunity to maybe graduate in 3 years. So we take pride in that, that our dual credit offerings are across the board. We got a business and an ag dual credit along with your standard math and language arts, and our U.S. history is dual credit, anatomy and physiology. So we have an awful lot of opportunities for our kids to get those things. But outside of the dual credit, with our ag program and our CTE program, we offer a lot of those other skills that are necessary to kind of move on. Not everybody's going to be going to college, so we make sure that we have the offerings in those specific areas that we can kind of get kids, whether they're heading straight into the workforce or or whether or not they want to go into college. And then we have a few military periodically that'll do that as well. And there's new diploma guidelines coming down where there's SEALs, and so there's kind of a military. They probably know it a little bit better than I do, but there's probably there's a military SEAL. There's like a workplace SEAL, and then there's more of kind of a educational, I guess is what you would call it, SEAL, and that's kind of what those diplomas will look like. So I want to say that the DOE is forcing us into a specific pathway, but we feel like because of what we've always offered at South Knox that we're already prepared for that with the dual credit and with our CTE stuff. So we feel like we're already kind of we're feeling like we're hoping that we're ahead of that game a little bit, and that whenever that stuff does come into effect, that it won't be as much of a difficult transition for us as it may be for some other people. Like I said, the musical, we got a great musical program. Obviously, the athletics, we hang our hat on our academics. We also hang our hat on our social. For example, yesterday, some people were out of the building, and we had a lot of ticket situations going on, and I mean, there wasn't a single disciplinary issue that happened all day, which had allowed us to kind of gear our focus towards the academic and also the kind of chaos that's come with. While the state is awesome, this state championship run is awesome, there's a lot of stuff that goes with it behind the scenes that we've had to kind of navigate, and we've been able to do that. And I feel like we've been able to do that because the kids are just right there, and we don't necessarily, we're educating them, but they're not making it difficult for us to do those other things that are necessary in education to do that. So, I hit that? Okay. Am I done? All right. Thanks.
You passed. You're welcome. I'm Greg Parsley, Superintendent of the VCSC. First of all, congratulations to Mr. Kokenauer and the girls, and congratulations, Dr. Bobe, as a father. Thank you to the Chamber for having us here, and I would probably just start my comments. We have great schools in Knox County, and we can give each other a hard time, but we're also friends with each other. We'll introduce 3 of my 4 elementary principals are here today. Melissa Pancake, our principal at Franklin, John O'Connor, principal at Tecumseh Harrison, Jill Staggs, our principal at Vigo Elementary. I also have 2 board members in the room, Pat Hutchison, who so happens to be employed at North Knox, and then Carla Smith. Suzanne Corona was also supposed to be here, but I'd ask, keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Her dad, many of you know in this room, your dad, Paul, has gone to the ER, so just thinking about your dad there. This is my 17th year in the Vincennes Community School Corporation. I've told the story many times. When I came here, I never had any intentions of staying. It was always to go out and get another rung on the ladder, and I came to Vincennes, and I absolutely fell in love with this place, and it'll be the place that I retire from. As my 17th year in the VCSC, it's my 13th year as the superintendent. I came to be the high school principal, did that for 2 years as the assistant superintendent, and then, like I said, the last 13 years as the superintendent. The VCSC, we keep adding programming or buildings. I've always said I'm fortunate that I have a board that looks at me and says, do what you need to do, because they know we're always going to put students first. We obviously have our 6 primary buildings that most people always think of in this community. Obviously the high school, the middle school, and then the 4 elementaries, but we added Washington Learning Academy. I think it was back during the 2019-2020. We're doing alternative ed work out of that building. Not only do we do alternative education, we also do virtual education out of that building that a lot of folks do not realize. That, of course, was the old Washington School, and not to diminish any of the work that we do in any of our other buildings, but probably some of our most impactful work, quite frankly, happens out of Washington Learning Academy. And those are our young people who, for whatever reason, the traditional educational setting doesn't always work for them. Life has happened. Maybe they've had, and we do K through 12, but I'll primarily focus upon the the high school kids out of that building because they are the Washington Learning Academy Panthers. It's their own separate high school. It's different. They have their own diploma, completely different from Lincoln High School. But life has happened for many of those kids, and maybe parents are not in the picture. They've had kids themselves already, or they need to work. We just find ways to work with them, but to get them an education or a diploma, because quite frankly, the most important thing that we can do is give an opportunity to a student, and we can do that through the diploma. And so over the time since we've had Washington Learning Academy open, we've given a little over 100 diplomas out of that building, and that's quite frankly probably 100 diplomas that would not have happened had we had them in the traditional setting at Lincoln High School. So I appreciate, we have elementary and middle school success academy that we run out of that building. Sometimes some of that's to correct some behaviors or whatever it may be, but we've separated that building, and it's a 3-story building, so elementary is on the first or the ground floor, and then the high school actually occupies the middle level, and the middle school is on the 3rd level. So we're always excited, and we appreciate the work that we get to do out of that building. Then also this year, and our facilities folks would tell me, please don't keep adding any more programming, because I go to them and say, all right, we're going to try something else, or we're going to do something different. And they're like, okay, that's one more thing that we've got to figure out how we're going to do. But we opened Little Alice Learning Center, partnering with the YMCA. And I think, there's many people in this room. I see the mayor being one of them, economic development, Chris Paff certainly being another, but we know that child care is a huge issue, certainly within the community, and no one generally wants to get into child care because there's not money to be made. It's not a profitable business, but if we're going to have employers and employees for those employers, we have to have child care. And we've heard for so long in this community that we need child care. And fortunately, thanks to KCIED and the mayor, some of it was COVID monies and so forth, but our board said, you come up with a plan and we'll support it. And that's basically what we did. We have 2 sections of 3-year-olds, 2 sections of 4-year-olds that we're doing out of the YMCA. We're probably going to grow that at least into 5 classrooms. We really need 3 sections of 4-year-olds. We had been doing preschool out of Vigo Elementary for several years, but needed more dedicated space, and we're proud of what we've been able. I know the chamber was there for the grand opening this summer. And Dennis Cortez and the entire YMCA, we couldn't ask for a better partner. Seeing Darren Cantwell, I know he's one of their board members. That has been a huge partnership that we've been able to do in this community. We also have really kind of partnered with KCARC. The work that they've done at Civitan for so many years. I said to Nash Dunn very early on, the objective is not to compete. We just need high-quality child care in this community. That's it. And so we have been trying to do a lot of things in tandem with each other. They're running the same curriculum that we are, and I'm certainly very proud of that partnership and being able to open those doors. Kelly McCarty is our she's the director. She was our longtime principal at Vigo Elementary, and when I came up with the idea of early childhood care and seeing if we could actually do it, Kelly was the very first person that I zeroed in on, because she certainly had the experience and has done a phenomenal job, and we've been able to provide a service certainly to this community that's well needed. I think from the standpoint of the VCSC, probably the most hot topic or hot button topic that has come about has been school safety, and we've started our own police department. I don't know that was certainly ever our objective. We've had a wonderful partnership with the city of Vincennes and Chief Hillenbrand as well, but simply with where the city was, we needed more officers. That's been certainly an important aspect, not only of myself, but our board. And we really we started the discussions back late summer, early fall. By November, the board was approving the startup, and in December we're hiring the officers. In January we were our own department. I think the state of Indiana would say that in terms of schools that have started their own police departments, Vincennes was the quickest to ever, from the start of the conception of the idea to actually be able to put it into practice. We couldn't do that if it weren't, though, through partnerships. And again, the city of Vincennes was a phenomenal partner. We also relied heavily upon Southwest Sullivan. They had started their own police department, and their chief, Dotson, came down, met with our board, was a huge asset. But we have 5 officers that we've been able to employ. We did take 2 of them that we were partnered with the city. Aaron Luce has become our chief. Cody Jones is our assistant chief. And then Joshua Shipman, Kyle Evans, and Kevin Porter have also come on board. So we're excited, and we appreciate, I've said this before, it's a shame that when you think of schools that you think of that they have to put their own police departments, but that's the realization. I mean, I've always said the most important thing, quite frankly, that we do, it's not providing an education. I mean, you think that that's probably what I should say, but the most important thing that we do is protecting our kids and being sure that our kids are safe. So that's a little bit about the VCSC. I don't know, Jamie, if there's anything else you want me to add for right now. So, okay.
Thanks a lot. I'm Daryl Bope. Yep. I think they're appreciate the applause. I would say that there's a lot of good things going on within the community itself. I'm going to try to make it to the game Saturday that he was talking about. A lot of great things going on. I say I'll start off where he left off about the safety issue. I tell people a lot. That's probably the heaviest thing that weighs on us. I mean, at least me, anyways. I mean, you talk about I've got 1,300 kids that I got to make sure that get to school safely, and make sure that they get fed, and make sure they get home safely. And with some of the things that have gone on, in the North Davies, I mean, that's always a scare. And in the mornings when you get up and you're not sure whether or not you're going to be delayed, I know there's a lot out there. People think we shouldn't be delayed or shouldn't be canceled and all that. But, I mean, it does weigh heavy on us. I mean, it really, really does. It's not something that's just an easy decision, and I don't think any of us want to see that happen. So, and I appreciate the Sheriff's Department, for working with us so well, and with South Knox so well, and working all that out, and County Council helping out with regards to that. It's just I never would have dreamed. We've had them there for many, many years in every one of our buildings, and it's just been and I tell you, in today's world, just having them there does kind of settle down some of maybe the disciplinary issues. There's a lot of times that they'll just step into an office, and all of a sudden, things kind of calm down a little bit when there's an officer in there. So there's a lot of good things that come from that also, plus the interaction that they have with kids. It's not just police, they're people now. They realize that. I think that helps with regards of our young kids and law enforcement. Law enforcement's got a bad rap sometimes over the last 5 years, or something. And I think they begin to understand, hey, these are real people, and just trying to do a job. A lot of good things. We just had finished up a project up there with regards to our field house. I don't know if you heard this or not, but we had a fire up there, and so we finally got that all back going again. Had a light fixture, and it was a brand new building, and ended up tearing up a lot of things, but we got that fixed. And I appreciate Burkhardt Insurance working with us so hard on that and getting that all straightened up, and that's all going. I think the biggest thing for us right now is we're getting ready to start a multi-million-dollar project. It's going to last about 2 to 3 years of getting it finished in our E area, and our E area is vocational area. We've done a lot of studies with regards to our administration and that kind of thing, but you heard Dave talk a little bit about the new diplomas and that kind of thing that are coming out, and the requirements of having pathways and internships. I want to speak to that for you guys all in the room. I think and I appreciate all of you that are part of that, but we need you to be part of that. I mean, that's probably the hardest thing. When some of this stuff started coming down from the state, and we started looking at it, the biggest concern was okay, I'll speak freely. If I was running, let's say Charlie's, I mean, I'd like to have some help, with regards to the schools coming down, but sometimes that's kind of a pain for some of you. I mean, I get that. We need your help in helping us to have those opportunities for our kids. So if you haven't done that, I would appreciate it if you'd give it some thought, because our kids need some places to go. I'm huge on internships. I think it's probably one of the most important things that we do. I mean, I don't care if it's a kid that goes out and goes to a situation, he goes, I want to work at the hospital, and he goes to the hospital. He figures out that I wanted to work there, but I didn't want to do that job. There's just a lot of, or sometimes they go places and they go, well, that's not working. I don't like this job. And that's just as important as figuring out that that's what you want to do early on in life before you go spending, a lot of money with regards to, and I think that the vocational area with regards to that, there's nothing that I would want more. I got a son right now that's teaching school and he's also thinking to himself, do I want to continue to do that, or do I want to become an electrician? He asked me, I said, well, you got to find out what you want to love, but we need those people. I mean, we need those people as bad as we need the teachers. That's what we need. So just figure out what you love. And, I've changed jobs so many times that that doesn't, and as a parent, I don't tell you, I tell young people all the time, if you got young kids, don't get too concerned about if they don't know what they're going to do. They're going to figure it out. They may change 3 or 4 times in their lifetime. And I'm glad for them. It's different experiences. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next time. I am 60. I'm not. I turned 60 this year. Been superintendent at Knox, I think 18 years, central office 25 years. I've seen a lot of things that have happened with regards to that. I don't get too excited anymore about legislation. There's some things that are going on up there that concern me right now. And I thought at the beginning people would always come up to me when these first bills start coming in, and I'm like, you got to let this thing kind of weigh out. It goes back and forth. Things get added. Things get taken away. There are some concerns. I think we're going to talk about that because I think one of the biggest things for me that I want to talk to you about with regards to that, and I'm not going to be specific, but here's what I think. I think now we're in a situation where the State Department is, up there. They're trying to lower their taxes, okay, and they've done this in the past. Now, I want you all to understand. I wish the entire city of Vincennes was here. I really, really do, because here's what concerns me, is that they want to lower those taxes, and this is what they say, and I like this. I'm big on this. They say, well, we want to give it all the local control. We want more local control. Well, they do, and then they don't. It's just they're kind of particular about what they want to give local control to. But with regards to this tax thing, they want to cut these taxes, and what happens with that is, and I want to say, I'm not just talking about schools up here. I'm talking about towns, libraries, all of that. And then they say we're going to give you the opportunity to take care of if you want to raise your taxes, and they put it back on us. They say, well, we're going to cut this, we're going to make this good for everybody in the state, and then they go to local, and they say, if you want to do that, we're going to give you kind of some opportunities to raise some taxes if you want to do it. Well, you know what that's like. I mean, that all sounds good, lowering tax rates, but I mean, it's a standard of living that we all have kind of programs that we all have kind of enjoyed, and there are different communities that have already, I don't know, we had that. The ambulance thing came up. I thought that was, there were some good things about that. We needed an ambulance service, and then they talked about that they were going to raise some salaries for police and raise some salaries for fire and department. And I was all, I went down there kind of negative about it, but after I heard about it, I thought, that's what they're going to do with the money. That's where we need to spend the money. Then let's just do that. Well, that all takes time to get those taxes raised. And what worries me is that, and it's not, like I said, it's not just schools. What worries me is that once that happens, and if everybody isn't on board saying, we want the standard of living that we have, if they're not on board on that, then all of a sudden, they like those lower taxes, but then services kind of start to get cut. And people don't make the money that they ought to be making, and so you see what you get into, and that's a concern for me. I mean, a real, real concern for our community of what that's going to look like. Now, I'll tell you this. It's just the change, and I think it all has to be worked out in the end, but I want you all to know that there's going to be some tough, and I talked to the mayor a little bit. I think he's a little concerned. I would be too. I'm concerned of how we're going to get through that. They talk about at the federal level of closing the Department of Education. Everybody's kind of heard that. They say, well, we'll just take a lot of that money and we're going to send it back to the states. That's okay if you want to do that, but does that mean, I think what they'll probably do is they'll say, just like everybody else says, we're going to send that money back to the state, and then the state can decide what to do with that. Well, if the state doesn't decide to give us the money we've been getting from the Department of Education, well, that's tough all of a sudden, So I think there's a lot of that has to be determined of how that's going to work out. But I think that sometimes we just have to remember what we want our communities to look like. And I think over the next few years, I think that's going to be a tough challenge for communities to say, we're willing to take on an additional tax, even though we got the property taxes lowered for everybody. we're willing to take on a little bit extra tax in order to fund these projects that we've got going on. So I speak to that in concerns. But I promise you, I made this decision last weekend, and I'm not going to let anything get me in a bad mood this week. So I'm in a pretty good mood.
All right. Yes, it's a week of no bad news, no bad thinking. We got our red and blue on today. We're ready to go. But with that being said, questions. So we talk about internship programs and how great they are, but then we talk about these new high school graduation requirements and apprenticeships and all of that. I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. It's confusing. I mean, coming from a parent standpoint, you know, my 13-year-old wants to play in the MLB. I can't crush dreams, right? But let's get to reality. So as an 8th grader, has to choose a pathway. How are we getting them prepared for these options? Who wants to take this?
Well, first of all, I would say, Jamie, I think we're making kids probably choose career paths way too early, but that's just part of it. I mean, again, that's the state and some of the infinite wisdom. I mean, as Dr. Bobe said, I mean, you know, you look at how many kids change their mind. I mean, you know, did I know that I wanted to be an educator in 8th grade? Absolutely not. You know, how many people in 8th grade really know what they want to probably do, or at least very few of them. But that's where we're at, where they're having to choose in 8th grade. But the reality is they're probably going to change multiple times. And the way that we're handling that in the VCSC, we're fortunate. We have 2 counselors in the elementary schools who, in large part, some of the primary aspect that they're in charge of is career exploration. We're doing that as well at the middle school, as we had added a position there from a counseling standpoint. And then at the high school level, we have Becky Bushy, who is dedicated to basically careers, and many of you in this room have participated in our career fair. I'll put our career fair up against anyone, but that's solely because of the work that Becky has done and bringing all these folks in and just trying to expose kids. And I think that's probably the greatest thing that we can do, is just exposing students to the different opportunities that are out there. And certainly we need these kids to stay in Knox County as well, and showing to them the opportunities that are there. Now, when it comes to the apprenticeships and the internships that both Mr. Kokenauer and Dr. Bobe have talked about, it worries me. I mean, a great deal. I mean, I see President Johnson, and he's shaking his head. We just had a VU retreat the last couple of days, and we had a discussion on the whole K through 12 and the pathways. When you look at the number of juniors and seniors that he needs within his building to find apprenticeships and internships, and you look at them out of Lincoln High School, you look at what Dr. Bobe has at North Knox, and then you throw Reveille in there, there's only so many employers to go around. And then employers are also looking at it from a standpoint of saying, well, that's one more thing I have to do, and we're already so, you know, shorthanded. How can employers take, you know they need employees down the road, but they themselves are having to do critical work, and then you run into some of the liability issues as well. But that's the expectation that's being thrust at schools. I think they're great things. They're phenomenal things, but we only have so much to go around, and trying to find those opportunities. And sometimes what my personal feelings are, a lot of these ideas come out of Indianapolis, and, you know, there's more opportunities certainly there. Now, obviously, there's larger school systems as well, but when you get into rural parts of Indiana, there's just so many jobs, and there's only so many employers. But yet, we're expected to try to find ways to partner with employers, which is a good thing. We want those partnerships, but it's going to be very difficult, I think, in the end. But that's where the state of Indiana is headed. So I don't know who wants it next. Don't fight over it, boys.
I would say. The only thing that I would say is that for Dr. Bobe, I mean, Greg and I would be kind of competing, I guess, to get some of the stuff right here locally, because we're about 5 miles apart from each other. But Dr. Bobe, his kids are a little bit further away, and I mean, it may take 35 minutes to get to an internship, and then you're putting 17 and 18-year-old kids on the road driving and you know as well as we do that there's some things that come with that as well. But I mean, I don't think they know what they're talking about at the state, to be honest with you. I hate phrasing it like that. That's off the record. I just think that they need to trust the educators, that we know what we're doing and we know we believe that we're going to put kids in the best place to be successful moving forward. And I mean, Dr. Bobe hit it really well earlier when he said that, I mean, nobody knows what they want. They may change careers 4 or 5 times. I mean, and for us now to expect a 13-year-old to get on a career path is just kind of ludicrous, to be honest with you. That being said, it's our job, so we're going to do it. And as freshmen coming in, I believe across the board we will probably all put kids in those classes that are necessary, that when they get to be sophomores and juniors, they'll be able to spread them out a little bit. But at least we'll start with that foundation at the freshman level so that they can move on from there.
So with all that said, what can we as the business community do to assist you? Back to you.
I guess it'll come back to me. I think just any opportunities that we can partner. I mentioned the career fair. I mean, that certainly is a good thing. If Becky Bushy reaches out to you, I mean, say yes. It truly just comes down to if there are opportunities in which we can partner, saying yes. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't, obviously not every kid, and I've said this for many years. I think we've done a terrible job sometimes in the state of Indiana and probably nationally. But we've seen that pendulum swing several times as well. Not every kid is meant to go to a 4-year institution. Not every kid wants to go to a 4-year institution, and we don't need kids to go to 4-year institutions. We need masons, and we need folks that can do mechanical work. We need auto mechanics. We need teachers and nurses and doctors and lawyers and all those things too. But if we're going to have a society that we need that is as well-rounded, then it's got to be very all-inclusive, and that doesn't mean that everyone's going to do a 4-year institution or a 2-year institution. I think right now with where the marketplace is, I mean, many of these high school seniors are seeing that they can just walk right out with a high school diploma and go to a job and make $70,000 to $80,000. But I think just helping us with the exposure of what those careers and what those opportunities are here in Knox County or greater Knox County is probably the greatest thing. And then saying yes, if one of the schools reaches out to you and says, I need help in placing a student, is there something that you can do? And then, trying to also work, I mean, some of the expectations that they have thrust, I feel, upon employers is probably unrealistic with some of the paperwork and so forth, and that's where we certainly, within Lincoln, are trying to utilize the positions that we have with Becky Bushy where we can hopefully be of help so that it's not a burden to you as an employer, because that's the last thing that we want. So,
I think that what I would say to you, and I don't know, Pat does a great job for us with regards to that. We got a lot of kids that leave. I don't know what our percentage is that go on internship. What is it? About 75% of our kids leave and go to internships. And I will say this. If you haven't done that, here's what I think. I understand, and because I think I would probably be in the same boat as you. If you're not doing that and you're concerned about that, I think I could understand that. But I don't know. Pat might argue. I don't know how many that we've had that have done internships that have called back and said, we don't want to do this again. It's worked out for them. I mean, it's worked out in a positive way for them. I think they were a little reluctant about doing that, but once that student got in there and started doing and really kind of helping out with some things, they were like, well, yeah, we want to do that again next year. So I would challenge you to maybe give it a try.
How many in the room have had interns from the area high schools? So a good number. I mean, we have at the chamber. I mean, Mackenzie, accountants, what did we say the other day? I mean, we need more accountants in our community, so more internships. So talking about some of your pathways, I guess you could say. Daryl, I know last time you talked, you guys were talking about a culinary Is that still on? Oh, sorry, only one mic.
That's part of this project that we're putting. You know, it's going to take, like I said, right now we're at about 2.5 years to finish it. I mean, so we're going to go through, and we're going through some growing pains over the next few years of shutting parts of the building down and then revamping that. And then, but yes, we've got culinary arts that we're trying to put into place. And we're working with the hospital, Good Samaritan Hospital, with regards to some of the things that we can help with them, with some of the needs that they have. So we've got it's not, I would talk to you more in specifics about it, but we're not there yet. We've got preliminary drawings. I got them this week of what we're going to do back there, and it's a huge area. The great thing about it is there's no walls. It's all wide open space. We have false walls back there that can all be taken down, so it's not going to be as difficult for us as maybe it would for some, but it's a great thing. And I think that where we're going to be at, and this is what I said at the very beginning, we started this 6 months ago, having meetings, is that I could go in there and could design it all, but I don't want to have a classroom for, something that we're going to have 2 kids for. You know, we needed to talk to our kids, and that's what we spent a lot of time doing, about what their interests were, so then we knew what kind of classroom. So we started with that, then we had a lot of meetings. I'll tell you one that's really hit off well. Our media classes, we started that up, and now we stream all of our games. Some people come up and say, man, you guys do a great job. Our kids do all that. We don't do any of that. They're handling all the camera work. And that class is really beginning to grow, and a lot of people are starting to look at that and say, a lot of kids are saying, I might be interested in doing something like this. So I think once you get, my point into that is, once you get something like that in place, then the interest can start to grow. But you got to find out what your kids want at the beginning.
I think the only thing, at Lincoln High School, we are embarking upon, over the next probably 3 to 4 years, a $40 million project that Lincoln High School, as I have been in this community, I'm always amazed. They call it the new high school. That new high school is 35 years old. But there's some infrastructure, some things kind of behind the scenes that people don't see that we've got to make some changes. But there's a huge need in this county for culinary arts, and that's a pathway that we certainly are adding. We've had lots of discussions. We have a phenomenal partner in Vincennes University. Dr. Johnson knows I would love to have even a greater partnership, just from a career and tech standpoint, because we're part of Twin Rivers, nothing against Twin Rivers, but you're talking Green, Sullivan, Davies, and Martin. Kids today, this amazes me, but, when we all turned 16, we thought about our driver's licenses. Kids don't think about that anymore. That's not one of the most important things to them. So, trying to find those partnerships that we can just keep right here in our community, and we have a phenomenal higher ed partner at Vincennes University, but one of the programs we've talked about is building trades. And there's several of you in the room, looking at First Vincennes Savings Bank. They've said, they would like to be a partner with that and trying to get that as a possible career pathway. We've had conversations with both our township and our city fire chief. Fire science is another one that is desperately needed. So there's plenty of opportunities certainly here, but we also have so much expertise already here in the county with people who are not only doing the job, but also having a higher ed partner who can help get us to some of those pathways.
The closest I have, we have a culinary arts class that we would do a restaurant. I don't know that those kids necessarily want to be chefs as much as they just kind of want to be in the culinary art class and put on a show every month. But it's still one more thing for them to do, and it is a CTE thing that we can offer them. But our internships, we've just been blessed to be able to send kids out in all different areas with the internships. Our ag, we've got welding that's pretty beneficial. That's also another trade that is necessary. We would like to expand a few more things. We just haven't gotten into that. We've been in conversation. We just got to figure out the logistics for it.
And before I turn the questions over to the audience, real quick, also from VCSC about your P-TECH program. I know you guys were a pilot program. How is that going, and are you continuing it, and how many more are a part of this program?
Yeah, P-TECH started, it was actually an initiative out of the state of New York. I think it was 3 years ago. Lincoln was one of 4 schools that piloted the program. We had a change in instructors. Basically, it's an opportunity to give kids hands-on learning opportunities where half their day is basically spent kind of in a block schedule. And then basically entrepreneurship becomes a huge aspect of it. And we hired Brad Bodart. He started a little after the school year had started this year, but the kids have kind of come up with their own store inside Lincoln High School. It's been very successful. So we're proud of that work. A little bump there because we had lost the original instructor, but things are going very well, and this is actually the second cohort that's going through now. So,
any questions from the audience? Yes. Can you stand and... Oh, do we get superintendent training on how voicemails are left for snow days?
I'm about out of material.
Because apparently Greg's the only one that's getting it.
Well, thank you for the compliments. I don't get a lot of those from most parents, it seems, and I certainly don't get them from my wife. She spends money. I think the large part that you as a parent, understanding that your child is going to come home so much earlier, I mean, pretty much making that expectation in 8th grade that they're having to choose a pathway and just being supportive, but also the recognition or realization that just because they've chosen that pathway, they're probably going to choose multiple pathways down, and just being supportive of the school, whether it be the counselors or whatever the case may, but also educating yourself as much, because the realization is that what we have always thought of, that the standard high school setting is you take a lot of your classes, most of your classes, if not all your classes in the same setting. You're probably now going to be doing apprenticeships or internships the junior and senior year where you may not even be in the building anymore, and I think that's really probably the biggest eye-opener to me. I mean, we've all had internships and apprenticeships for years, but now the expectation that the overwhelming majority of your juniors and seniors really should be doing those apprenticeships and internships and are not going to be in a traditional school setting probably.
If there's one thing I've learned, and I'll help you with this, if there's one thing I've learned, I don't know what age your children are, don't get too worked up about it, because it will change. I promise you, it will change. I never get too bogged down about, I mean, you just go through the testing, and then all of a sudden you think, well, we've got this completed, and then they'll change the testing, and then or something else. So you can't get too bogged down in the weeds, because I promise you, as new legislators come in, boy, they just get smarter and smarter and smarter as they get elected.
I mean, I will say that we're still going to offer math, science, social studies, and English. We're still going to have it available at all 4 levels. There's requirements for those classes up through certain levels in each one of those. U.S. history is still a requirement. 4 years of English is still a requirement. I mean, algebra is still a requirement. So those things right there are still going to be there. So we'll make sure that those are available to the kids. And then whenever we get to that point where there's an apprenticeship or work-based learning or whatever, internship, they'll still be whatever classes they still need to fulfill as a junior or senior. We'll keep them in the building for those before we release them. So we'll make sure that we inform you guys of what you need, but we'll also make sure that we're dotting those I's and crossing those T's in terms of the classes.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, Spencer.
Dr. Grove, I don't want to put you on the spot here. If you guys don't mind, to kind of piggyback off of that question, talk about your path to where you're at, because I believe two of you went through the whole education system, but like Dr. Grove said, don't get hung up on one spot, not get personal.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me take you on the journey, and I'll make it quick. I graduated and went into the insurance business. Bought it into the agency, worked there for quite some time, got out of that, and some of you are going to laugh, and that's okay. I got out of that, decided that I wanted to go into education. I thought at that point in time I really wanted to be a coach, and so I went and started my quest with that. As soon as I got my degree, there wasn't any job openings, and during that time I went to work, and I worked at the coal mine. And I was a coal miner for 7 years. Ran a miner, and then I became an electrician. While I was down there, I got my electrician degree and was working in maintenance with regards to electrician for 3 or 4 years doing that. And then a job opening came open at the school corporation while I was working there. And boy, when I looked at what they were going to pay me compared to what I was making, I was like, well, that's dumb. You couldn't make sense of the math. And the greatest thing that happened to me was some of the old guys in the coal mine found out about this opportunity for me, and they came to me and they said, you need to get out of here. You just need to get out of here. You don't need to worry about that money. You need to get out of here. You're going to make a bigger difference in the world. They knew what kind of person I was. You're going to make a bigger difference in the world than you are 180 feet underground every day. And I took that to heart, and I took the job, took the pay cut. My wife wanted me out of there anyway. She didn't like me down 180 feet underground. It all worked out a lot better for me. Went into that, became a teacher, was a teacher for a long time, was an assistant principal. So then I went to being an assistant principal, and then the business manager job came open, and I don't know what happened to me that day, but I walked over to the superintendent's office and said, you really ought to hire me as a business manager. He didn't know me from Adam. And all I had was a business degree from college, and he said, are you willing? And so I took that job and was there for 6 or 7 years. And then I got really dumb and decided to be superintendent. And so I've been there for 18 years. And, right now, I'll be real honest with you, probably looking for the next job right around the corner. So, yeah, that's kind of what my story was. And that's why I tell my own kids. Sometimes I wish they would kind of maybe hurry up and make some decisions. One guy, my oldest child, at one point in time, he said, I was with him one day, and they said, what are you going to be when you get out of college? And I looked over at him and said, he's going to be 32. But I really don't think that, I just don't, as parents, I know you want them to make a decision. I know you want them to, I know everybody wants their kid to do well, okay? But you got to understand, and I think most people do understand, that just life takes journeys. And I'm going to tell you something. You say what you want to about all the things that I talked to you about, I wouldn't change a thing of it. Not one thing. I wouldn't. If you said, well, could you start an education, just work your way? Not a chance. I learned too many things from doing two other things.
My career pathway has pretty much been education. I went to school. Undergraduate was there 5 years. My parents said they were going to stop paying the bill, that it was time to get out and get a job. I interned actually with the Indiana General Assembly and really thought that I wanted to go probably down the politics, but I had gone to school to be a social studies teacher. Like I said, I interned with the General Assembly. I went back home to Bloomington. I ran a political campaign. I saw the things behind the scenes when it comes to running political campaigns, and my mom looked at me and said, that's not going to be the life or the path probably for you, and I agreed, and my grandpa always wanted a teacher in the family, and I had the degree, so I jumped at the first job. It was it was teaching economics. It was the one thing I was told by my college advisor, that because social studies teachers at that time, we were a dime a dozen. And he's like, you're not going to get a job. You're going to have to pick up something else, whether it be a foreign language or pick up English or whatever. And I said, no. If I'm going to teach, social studies is where my passion is. So I ran the whole gamut of everything that you could. Got a minor as well in sociology, but my first job that was offered was econ. So I had to go back that summer and continue to take 2 more classes just to go ahead. And then from there, I taught for 5 years. 1 year in Indianapolis, and then 4 years up in the Lafayette area, and then from there I went into administration. But my career path has truly been in education.
I'm somewhat similar to Greg. I'm a Knox County Coconauer. My father is Paul Coconauer. Some of the people in this may have had him in school. I spent 1 semester at Vincennes University as a business administration major, and then got out of that and went right back into social studies education. And then I got a job in Indianapolis teaching at a parochial school, spent 3 years up there, and a position opened up at Clark Middle School. I was fortunate enough to apply for and get that, and then I spent time at Clark as a school teacher and then moved into administration at Clark. And then I've been doing that ever since. So I've pretty much been an education person my entire life, literally growing up under Paul Coconauer's roof. Kind of just led us all in that, and my sister and my brother also works for Greg. And then my oldest sister also started out in education before then. She went back to school to do something different. So all 4 of us were educators. So it's been a blessing, though.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Sure. No, you're fine.
Sorry, we haven't mentioned CEO. CEO is something that is offered here in Knox County that some of our kids can go to in the morning, and so we appreciate that as an opportunity as well. And I'm probably opened the door there and missed somebody else, but I did want to talk about that because we're blessed by a couple of kids or X number of kids doing that every year for us as well.
Yeah, the CEO program, if some of you aren't familiar with it, it's through KCLEF, which is through the KCIED. And I think right now they're recruiting for students for the CEO program. So if you're interested in that, give them a call, or we can get you that information, because it's a great program that truly teaches the skills in the workforce for our students. So definitely check that out. But with that being said, thank you to the 3 of you for spending some time. I appreciate it. You know, these 3 gentlemen up here, don't run off, we're going to do pictures in a second, but these 3 gentlemen up here really solidify what is great about Knox County, seeing the passion that they have for our community, the caring that they have for all of their students. It really, I'm not a Knox County person, I'm not from here, but this kind of solidifies my experience, the things that I feel about Knox County now. So thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate that. Thank you also to our presenting sponsor, which is Vincennes PBS. Thank you for broadcasting this or taping this so we can view it on our website at a later date. To our program sponsor for the day, First Vincennes Savings Bank, and our other sponsors, North Knox School Corporation, Vincennes Community School Corporation, Vincennes University Foundation, and the South Knox School Corporation. So thank you to them. Thank you to our speakers. Also, on a chamber side, our annual award nominations are open. So if you do have an Educator of the Year that you would like to nominate, please go to our website and do that. These are, people in our community that truly do make a difference every day in the lives of our students and our children. So please go nominate someone for these great awards. And then also, on behalf of Vincennes PBS, pull out your phones, go to YouTube, subscribe to their channel, Vincennes PBS. They're in a cohort right now trying to get subscribers to their Vincennes PBS channel on YouTube. So please do that for them when you get a chance. But with all of that being said, thank you to everyone for coming today, and thanks for all your time. Have a great day, and go Spartans. Good luck.